great friend. He is live at the Woody. He is Austin Ward. A-Ward Sports, give us the time, distance, countdown on the big scoreboard before Penn State comes into town here this weekend.
Yeah, Beamer, you know how how we can tell it's a matchup game? The scoreboard reads period number 16 and 3.5 minutes to go in it. So as everyone who's been following along with the weekly Wednesday night check-in from the Woody knows, sometimes practice is over by this point, and I'm heading in there, and we're about to talk to Ryan Day. Sometimes, like before Texas or before they headed out to Washington, these periods might just stretch out a little bit longer than they normally would. So the Buckeyes have a couple more to go. The lights are on as the Buckeyes are practicing outside. There's crowd noise on. Not really sure what that's for when they're playing at the Horseshoe, but that's not my prerogative to decide that. I'm just setting the scene for you. It is a cool, crisp, little bit damp night out here, and there are still a couple more periods to go.
Austin, we got a chance to talk for a good long while last night. We did. It's actually, we lasted.
This is your guys' best show I've ever listened to.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Appreciate that. To you, we were just talking about the Jim Knowles effect maybe and what Ryan Day said at the end of his presser yesterday. Like, yeah, it's business. It is business. Like, understand coaching in college football, but we're all human beings. To you, I want you to dissect that a little bit more. Is there more to the pop when it comes to this Penn State game here coming up November 1st at the Horseshoe for the Buckeyes?
Yeah, I think there is, and it's twofold because Ohio State has a lot of respect for the talent on that team. This was the one that they thought was going to be a top 3, top 5 matchup. Top 3 if you were looking at those polls going into the year. And so they know that even though it hasn't gone the way Penn State wants, if they put everything together, this is still a team that had the potential to be a college football playoff contender and a Big Ten championship contender as well. So that part is they're aware of that, and they have some respect, of course, for Jim Knowles professionally. So you can find motivation in a couple of different ways, and I don't think it's going to be that difficult for Ohio State to do so because the part that you mentioned there, Ryan Day closed out that comment, and he was asked about Jim Knowles, I think 3 times, and the last thing he said was, you try not to take anything personally, but we are human, and that's about as direct and blunt as he will be about, the way he feels about somebody else in the coaching industry, certainly somebody that he's worked with. So I think the challenge for him then, and maybe it's not a real challenge, maybe it's just an actual decision, is how much do you want to let that emotion fuel your game plan on Saturday? Because Ohio State doesn't really benefit from blowing out Penn State. They're not. They're a team that hasn't beat anyone in the Power 4 ranks this year. It
would be fun, though.
It would be, and I'm not trying to diminish that. I think they would celebrate long into Saturday evening if that's what they accomplish. But Ryan Day, we've talked so much about the pace of play, limiting possessions, number of snaps. Like, that's the angel and the devil on his shoulder. That's the way I've looked at it all week. I've said that a couple of different times, including to you last night briefly. Like, do you want to go punish Jim Knowles and his defense and air it out for 4 quarters, or are you going to be committed to a plan that you have adopted and embraced, that is you're going to play 50 to 60 snaps and limit possessions and protect your defense and take away a bunch of reps on the bodies of guys who are potentially going to play 16 games? And I think that's where the push and pull is, because Ohio State is favored to win this game by 3 touchdowns for a reason.
A lot has been made of Drew Aller not being there, of course. You lose your starting quarterback. That's always a big thing. What is the strength of this Nittany Lion team now? Is the defensive line? I mean, the defense, was supposed to be, really good this year. Is that, what? Give us a little, scouting report, I guess, on what we expect, where they're good, where we may need to attack this weekend.
Yeah, they can get pressure. They still, even what they lost from their defensive front a year ago, they brought back a couple of very good players up there, and we know that Jim Knowles will get creative with his blitz schemes at times to try and, manufacture some pressure as well. But, this defense under Jim Knowles for Penn State has actually regressed a little bit from where Penn State was a year ago. And you can say that's partially due to personnel, but it may also be due to scheme. We know that it took, multiple years for Ohio State to really understand and execute what Jim Knowles was asking them to do. And that's been the hallmark of everywhere he's been, that it's taken time to learn and adjust. So as you look at this game and you prepare for it, Ohio State is pass protected really well this year. Penn State does not have corners and a secondary that I think and truly nobody does, but they don't especially have anyone who can stop Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Max Clare on down the list. So I think this game, actually winds up hinging on if Katron Allen and the Penn State rushing attack is able to find success, and if this game is played at that slower tempo, if they can generate points on those drives. And that's been tough for everyone against this Matt Patricia defense, the Silver Bullets this year. But he's where it really hinges for Penn State if they're going to have any success, because he has become the lead back. This was supposed to be a 1-2 tandem between him and Nick Singleton, and Singleton was the one who generated a lot more buzz than Katron Allen. But these last couple of weeks, they've really primarily leaned on him. He's had some success, but that still hasn't even been enough for them to get over the hump against Iowa or UCLA or Northwestern. So, it's tough to say this, but like they don't have a true strength. But the thing that they're going to have to rely on the most is their run game.
He is Austin Ward with us here on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. Austin, they're kind of like a dog that is cornered right now. Penn State is. And I know we were talking about just a little bit last night and what a win for them would mean in this game in the Horseshoe. You got a kid who's from Olentangy and Ethan Grunkmeyer, who's their starting quarterback. This could salvage their season. And what does that mean in the long run? I don't know. I have no clue who's going to be their next head coach. Could this save them like a bowl game? It's obviously short of the expectations that they had for this upcoming season. But can you paint us a picture, a roadmap to victory, if you will, if Penn State were to win this game somehow on Saturday? What would that look like, given what we know about this Ohio State team offensively, defensively, so far what we've seen this season?
Yeah, offensively, I don't want to be a broken record, but Katron Allen, if he goes in and single-handedly carves up the Ohio State defense, I don't expect to see that, but that would, limit possessions. If he's able to pound them in, finish drives in the red zone, and Penn State scores a couple times that way, and it becomes a grinded out, methodical, lower, scoring game, that's a potential path. I don't want to say it, but it would look a lot like the end of November last year. And that's the kind of game that Penn State has to find themselves in.
Yeah, don't say that again.
I don't want to. I'm just, you asked me the question.
You're right. I did.
You're just answering the question.
Fair.
What do you want me to do? So it would have to be relying on their run game, long drives, using up the clock, keeping Julian Sayin and Ohio State's high-powered offense, the passing attack on the sideline. Because again, Jim Knowles, everyone respects him as a coach, but Penn State just simply does not have the horses to match up with JJ and Carnell and Brandon Ennis and Max Clare. And I know everyone wants to see some of this running game take the next step, but that would also require in some ways Ohio State playing itself into the strength of an opponent, which would also be reminiscent of last November. So I think that's a lesson that everyone has carried around this building that I'm in right now from last year, and certainly adapted and grew from that into the playoff push. But you've not really seen them, in my opinion, do things that are out of character. Even when you've talked about, 13 and 14 personnel and heavy run packages to try and get better at it, I don't think it's been to prove a point to anybody and show how tough they are. I think when the game is called for it, like it did 2 weeks ago against Wisconsin, they stepped up the passing attack. They saw the way that they were being tested, and they took advantage of it and exploited it. Whatever it takes to win the game, I think you're seeing Ohio State do that at the highest level of the Ryan Day era. So, I look at this, and it would be reliant on Ohio State turning over the football, which has not been a recurring problem for them at all, and showing an inability to stop the run, which I don't think is probably going to happen when Penn State has very little ability to throw the football, especially without Drew Aller. So, if you do or don't want to think about what happened at the end of November, that's about the only scenario I can come up with that Penn State could duplicate.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. I know you were on the road working last week a little bit, so maybe you didn't get to see any of the bye week practice. But any word on where we sit at the guard position? Because I feel like going into the bye week, that was a big question of maybe they're going to try some things and see if anything looks different or better. Any update there? And to follow that, when are you going out to the Ryan Day corn maze?
I still haven't found out where that is or how much longer it's open, but I know that I'm sure
for
Liv
you,
would love to go
eternity.
run around it. Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. So So currently don't have plans for that. Corn maze experience. We went to Disney World, as you know, instead Jay-Z, so our time was filled up there with a different kind of activity. But I do think that, as we would have sat here last week, I said, I think that Josh Padilla is certainly trending towards and is about to start for Ohio State. I'm going to have to maybe tap the brakes just slightly on that. But I think that the leash has shortened for Tegra Shabola without question. Ryan Day is, sort of viewing this as Josh Padilla is now the sixth guy. And we know where the sixth one would go because there's only been one rotational spot on Ohio State's offensive line, and that has been right guard. So I think that there's a really good possibility that the rotation and the workload becomes more evenly split. And then if, maybe we don't see a situation where if Tegra Shabola struggled early, Josh Padilla only comes in for a short time, then you go back to the starter. Maybe if Josh Padilla thrives the way he has off the bench, maybe that becomes the passing of the torch. But as we sit here right now, and we're about to get another update from Ryan in a couple minutes, maybe that will change. But I expect that Tegra will start, and then we'll probably see a lot of Josh Padilla after that.
Hey, question for you, 30 seconds before we let you go. Does Brian Hartline feel the need for his future employer to really put on a display offensively this week?
Wait, what are you doing with these guys?
I'm just asking. That's what the internet wants to know.
That's what
Austin.
the internet wants to know.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I truly can't imagine that Brian Hartline would take the Penn State job. I'm just being honest with you. But I'll also reiterate, he did not interview with them before 5 days before.
No, he wasn't out there this week.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking news. Thanks for breaking that for us.
Believe it or not. So I definitely can let you guys know that within 30 seconds.
Buddy, always appreciate the time. Thanks for hopping on with us. I'll talk to you on Sunday, all right?
Yeah, me too.
Let's get okay.
Yeah, that's breaking news to you.
Breaking.
I love the sound of that. All right, see you, boys.
All right, goodbye. There he goes. Austin Ward with us here on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. A new guest for